This is the Your Money Hour podcast. I am your host, Dakota Grady. Welcome to the show, everybody. And whether you're listening to the show online in Australia or California or anywhere around the world, thank you for joining us. I am Dakota Grady, your host. So if you need help with personal finances, contact me at info@dakotagrady.com. You can also check out my website at dakotagrady.com to get resources to help you with your money so you can improve your life financially. And I'm also the accounting and tax doctor, helping nurse practitioner entrepreneurs to have more time to focus on patient care. So I do that by offering accounting, tax, and advisory solutions so they can improve their lives and their businesses. Check out theatdoc.com. That's theatdoc.com. So today I have on the show Miss Ashely Washington of Rock Nurses Rock, and I saw her online on Instagram, and I wanted to see if she could join us for the podcast. So here she is. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. So tell about who you are and what you do, Ashely.
So I am Ashely Washington. I am a licensed practical nurse. The specialties and right now I'm doing travel and nursing, but my favorite specialties that I'm mostly in are emergency medicine and pediatrics. I started Rock Nurses Rock as a nursing support group and coaching for new nurses and, experienced nurses.
All right. So tell about your journey to become a nurse. I know that I heard about two hard classes, difficult classes, anatomy and physiology 1 and 2. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely horrible. So my journey to become a nurse was, and I'm still on a journey because I'm a licensed practical nurse, but I'm also, I just am going to be going into, in May of 2022, I'm going to be going to an RN-BSN program. So I'm relocating to Georgia from New York to attend this program so I can get it done within 2 to 3 years. But my journey has not been easy. I am a mom of 7 children. I have 7 children, 4 girls and 3 boys. So that within itself has been a challenge on top of all the schoolwork and on top of working as well. So yeah.
I think I saw your story on Instagram, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. You got like 7 kids, right? Picture of you and your children. Yeah. I saw it, I think last year, I believe. So how did you get into nursing? And then how do you manage all that with 7 children?
So I got into nursing. I originally was in customer service. I was a customer service representative at Verizon Wireless for years. And then my father got sick. And so I decided that after having children and just being in the hospital a lot, I decided, well, this is something I want to pursue, So I started doing my research and, just watching and observing people, in that field. And then while I was in nursing school, I worked in the lab as a lab tech assistant, handling the blood and different specimens coming in. And I always would watch the nurses in emergency, and I was like, I'm going to be there one day. One day that's going to be me. So that's how I got into nursing. And as far as doing all this and being a mom, I live by my planners. My planners are like my best friends. I do my planner every Sunday for the whole week. Sometimes I do it for the whole month. For my daycare provider, I do it for the whole month so she knows my schedule and we're on the same page. But yeah, I live by my planner. If I don't have a planner, I am lost in the sauce.
So talk about the transition from being, I guess, a bedside nurse to becoming a travel nurse.
It's pretty much the same, except for you're everywhere and it's not your home hospital or your home nursing home. It can be scary, it can be challenging. But I am the type of person that likes a challenge, and I love to do, something different every day. And that's why I love emergency medicine, because you never know what's going to walk through the door. You never know what your patient is going to be experiencing. And so I love that. I love that thrill. And that's why I started doing traveling as well, because I wanted to get experience at different places and, in my community as well as outside of my community. And also wanted to, do my due diligence in places where they are short staffed, and try to help out.
So you started off air. We talked about how you started your business
Mhm.
and Rock Nurses Rock. Why did you start the business? And then you could go and talk about your academy as well.
Okay, so I started Rock Nurse to Rock originally as a t-shirt business. I've been selling t-shirts for a couple years during Nurses Week. I would sell t-shirts out the back of my truck and talk to nurses about all the different challenges and just, try to help motivate people to keep in there, keep going to school. I know it's hard, stuff like that. But 2 years ago during the pandemic, I started um, I opened up my brick and mortar. It's like I rent a space. I do workshops and stuff like that with nurses. But I started it because a lot of nurses that are coming into the field are they're learning behind a computer screen. They really don't have that hands-on experience. And I talked to a lot of nurses and encouraged them not to give up because they just weren't prepared for what they experienced in emergency medicine. And it was very, heartbreaking, to see someone cry because you go through all that school, you go through all those long nights staying up studying and you fought to be here and then you want to give up when you're there it's heartbreaking to me because I want to pursue my career to be a nurse educator and to be able to motivate nurses to stick in there and then even when you get there you still want to continue learning and stick in with the fight because it's gonna be a challenge no matter what. It's always gonna be a challenge. There's always gonna be something.
Wow. So have you seen that disconnect from the classroom to the actual on the floor?
Yeah, yeah. Just because people don't during the pandemic when people are when nurses are in school, they really don't get a lot of hands-on experience. So it's basically now you're in clinical when you're put on the floor as a nurse. You passed your boards and now you're on the floor as a nurse. And this is like your clinical because you really didn't have as much clinical experience just because of the pandemic. So it is a struggle, and I could only imagine how hard it was. I graduated in 2016, so it was no, pandemic. We had clinical, we had that hands-on experience, we got the experience, all these different areas. And these nurses just didn't get the opportunity because of the pandemic.
Right. So in your business, who have you felt like you've been able to benefit most? Like people who are older who going back to school for nursing, or the people who are younger? Like who have you been able to help?
So in my community, I currently am working with the students at it's called REOC. It's a school connected with Brockport College, but I've been able to. I feel like the younger nursing students who I've been able to help more. Those are the students that are, and there's some adult learners in there too, like older adult learners too, that I work with as well. But I feel like the younger students who have been able to, help more and gravitate more towards.
Great. So in terms of business, I talked to some
Mhm.
NPs, nurse practitioners, at least with one that I remember particularly, and she was saying that they didn't learn how to. I still think two NPs that business they didn't learn about anything in business. Talk about that in terms of starting a business for a nurse. Did you get any experience as a nurse, as a business owner, and if so, what?
So I actually did not have any business experience. I came from a customer service background. Um, and so I had that experience, um, but not any business experience. So what I actually did was we have a program there. It was a program through Urban League of Rochester, and it's a business program. So I was able to take a part of that business academy program. It was something that just started. And they teach you all about business, all about, from the beginning to the end. And I actually just graduated from that program, but because of COVID, we're not having a graduation. But I actually just graduated from that program. This month was supposed to be our graduation, January 21st, but it got canceled because of Omicron and all these different variants. So, but that's where I got like all the information that I was missing, when I first started, because I had no idea,
So talk about some of those things that you feel were very important for a foundation for your business.
Definitely when we went over just writing your business plan and learning about marketing, and all the bookkeeping part was like the major thing I learned. Even though I worked, I did taxes when I was younger. Every year I would work at Jackson Hewitt, but the bookkeeping part was totally different. Especially, we have all these programs that keep track of it for us, but they had us do it on paper, and keep, oh my God, it was like eye opening. It was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And I cannot do this. But yeah, that was like the major part.
Yeah, I tell people like marketing, sales, operations are all important, but without accounting, bookkeeping, you might as well not even you might as well close your business. That's how important it is.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You lose money. You will lose track of your money so fast. Like I was, even though it was an example we were using, I was like, wait a minute, I lost track of some money somewhere. It was crazy.
Right. So
Yeah.
do you have any clients like not locally, but virtually as well for your class? And how often do you have your class?
So I have virtual classes Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I have a monthly in-person workshop on Saturdays. But the monthly workshop has not. It's been like on and off just because of the pandemic and all the different rules and regulations, how many people you can have, and stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot of. Sometimes I would have, and then I also started like a support group for nurses, like doing different things with nurses just out of the community, and we just come together and just try to, get through this together. Because it's very hard. Some days are better than others, but when you're in the hospital and you have clocked into your shift, it can get real and really
Mm.
quick.
So talk about like being you say in emergency care, right?
Yeah.
Talk about how you handle trauma. Because me, I can't be a nurse or a doctor because I just can't handle it. Like I can't handle somebody coming in from a car wreck. I would fall apart. So talk about that.
So it's like, oh my God, it's like an adrenaline rush. I think you just, you just jump in and help, especially like you can have, like we have a total of 6 patients, one nurse to 6 patients. You may have a patient care tech to assist you. You just may not, depending on on the staffing. But depending on what area you are in, it's, nurses are around. We able to help each other, work together as a team, and do the best we can and to make sure we're taking care of all our patients. But someone could code in a heartbeat, like that. You just never know. Or someone coming for a stroke, a heart attack, car accident, anything, stabbing. But I don't know, it's just like you just jump in and you just are just ready. I don't know, maybe that's just me, but I think that's a lot of nurses. We just jump in automatically because we just want to help. We want to save this person. And it's like, I've been in a situation where um it was a young teenager who came in. She was fine in her car with her mom, but when they got in the waiting room, she, passed out. So we had to carry her back. Like it's me and two other nurses. We're physically carrying this young lady. She's like probably like 18 years old. She was just starting college in our area. And it was just a crazy situation. And something to do with her vaccines or something like that. And the doctor was like, everyone out of the room. But we had already carried her, all the way from the waiting room to the room where she was at. And the doctor was so concerned about, exposure to, anything, because it was during COVID, it was, everything. And it's just crazy how you just jump in, not even caring about, what this person, has or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah, I can do it. So I commend you and all the millions of other nurses because I just that's not my calling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely a calling. I tell everyone, this is definitely a calling. You have to be in it.
So talk about some of the challenges that you have faced in being an African American nurse, because talk about that part of being a nurse.
So, being an African American nurse is a challenge. In the hospital where I worked, it was, you can count on your hands how many African American nurses, are in the emergency, which um, is really, to me, is really sad because in this community is, so many African American people that come into emergency, just because of lack of, primary care doctor, seeing a primary care doctor, things like that. And it's a challenge. I would say just working with other people who don't understand, where this person is coming from, and then I'm trying to, build a rapport with my patient and make sure that I'm doing everything in my power to, to take care of my patient. But then I have to explain to this doctor that's not from my community, they don't understand what my patient is going through because they've never been there or they never seen it. And trying to make sure they get the right care for, for my patient. So I have gotten into arguments with doctors, nurse practitioners. I am the nurse that does that will not I just don't take it lightly. I want to make sure my patient is taken care of and that they receive the best care just like anyone else will receive, and not receive any type of care, just because of the color of their skin or their background or whatever. So I have had my share of arguments with people just because I want to make sure, we're doing what we are supposed to do. And I know what we're supposed to do. So if we're not doing it, then I want to know why, because it's like your parent. I look at my patients as family. You came here for a reason, and we got to make sure this is somebody's grandmother, this is somebody's dad, this is somebody's uncle, sister, and people can't even have their family back in emergency, during the pandemic. So that makes it even worse because people are scared. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's going on, so that's that's a
Right.
challenge.
So do you have any of your colleagues try to challenge you because you are an African American and they may feel like you don't know what you're doing because you are a Black person? Do you have those kind of experiences as well?
Yes, I've definitely had that experience because as a licensed practical nurse, you work under a registered nurse. So there is your scope of practice. You can only do what's in your scope. So I have gotten in. I guess I've said gotten into it with nurses just because I know what my scope of practice is, and I'm not going to perform above it. And because I'm working with a nurse that doesn't know my scope of practice, it becomes a challenge because they want you to do something you're not supposed to do. And then you tell them I can't do this, but I can do something else. And they feel like you're being disobedient, or defiant. And I'm not being that. I'm letting you know I can't do this. Based on my scope of practice, I can't do it. So I've run into a lot of, issues like that. But I think once people got used, kind of used to us being in the ED, um, it got a little better, but being African American and being a licensed practical nurse, telling somebody, no, I can't do that is like, wait a minute, what? You can't do what? Like, I got a lot of that. You can't do what? And so they'll go to the charge nurse and let the charge nurse, she said she can't do this. Da, 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 da. Well, she can't because that's not her scope of practice, but she can help you with something else. So now, they feel some type of way because I just told her the same thing. Now somebody else got to tell her, now she feels, you know. So
Got you. So you figure out a way how to navigate those kind of things then, in other words.
yeah.
Got you. So what has been some of successes in your career or in your business as being a nurse?
I think because I've been a staff nurse for 6 years, and last year, around in the spring, I decided to go to traveling, and just so I can have more flexibility with my schedule, and really do what I want to do in my business. And so that opened up a lot of doors for me because when I first wanted to leave, I discussed it with, the person above me at my job. And they were saying, it's going to be bad everywhere you go. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. Because I really had a lot of challenges in an emergency just because of the color of my skin, as well as everything that was going on during the pandemic, with the police. Um, the different police riots and different murders and stuff like that. It really played a role in us working in emergency because we had that same we had the experience of having those people as our patients, and they talk about it, and you hear that, and you still have to do your job no matter how you may feel about what they said. You still have to do your job. And yeah, but so that really made my decision a little easier because I ended up having an experience with the officer as well as a protester. And once I had that experience and I didn't have someone to back me up and support me in my decision, and what I wanted to do, that made me say, this is not the place I thought it was. And I had been working at that hospital, as a lab tech and while I was in school, and then graduated and came to work there, as a nurse. And I basically grew there. And then when that situation happened, I felt like, this is not the place I thought it was. That the value, that people have on their wall doesn't match the value that, they have as, in this hospital. It's different, and I don't know if it was different because of the color of my skin or what it was different because, but so I made my decision to leave and start traveling. And I feel like that was the best decision I could have made because it opened so many doors for me. Um, and I've been doing, better ever since. So yeah.
Cool. So talk about how do you encourage other nurses who've been where you are or where you are now? Like give them some encouragement. I mean, you got the floor. Before we close, like how can you encourage somebody who is in your situation or was something like similar to yours?
I would what I tell people is you definitely grow through what you go through. So right now as a nurse in the pandemic, you're going through a lot. You're going to experience a lot. You're going to see a lot, and you're going to have to do a lot just because we don't have the staff. But you're growing, and you're learning, and you know what's best for you, and you have to make the best decision for you. Like this year, I've been telling nurses basically with my emails and everything that 2022 equals focus on you because and all these decisions that have been made for us with the mandates and the short staffing and the everything that's going on in the hospital, you have to do what's best for you because at the end of the day, they're going to do what's best for them. So you have to make a decision for you and what's best for you. And it doesn't matter what anybody else say or think. You have to do what's best for you and know that you're making the right decision.
Awesome. So how can people find out about you and your business, Ashely?
So I'm on Instagram as Rock Nurses Rock. My website is www.rocknursesrock.com. Also on Facebook as Rock Nurses Rock. Yeah.
Cool. So you have any final words?
I just thank you so much for this opportunity, and I look forward to hearing more and doing more. I don't know.
Cool. Well, Ashley, thank you for your time. And this is the Your Money Hour podcast.
Thank you.